Now you freely admit to detonating the engines of and thereby destroying an M-class star freighter.
Let's go! Move it out!
We sat down there on company orders to get this thing, which destroyed my crew.
A creature that gestates inside a living human host.
You're going out there to destroy them, right? Not to study, not to bring back, but to wipe them out.
That's the plan.
Who's Snow White? She's supposed to be some kind of consultant. Apparently, she saw an alien once.
Whoopie fucking do.
What exactly are we dealing with here?
Kane, who went into that ship, said he saw thousands of eggs there.
This can't be happening, man. This isn't happening.
So who's laying these eggs? Just one of those things managed to wipe out my entire crew in less than 24 hours. And if the colonists have found that ship, then there's no telling how many of them have been exposed. Look at me. Where are they? Come on! Come on! Do something!
10 seconds, people. Look sharp. Multiple signals. They're closing.
Thank you, Officer Ripley. That will be all.
God damn it! That's not all. Because if one of those things gets down here, then this bullshit that you think is so important, you can just kiss all that goodbye.
We better get back, because it'll be dark soon, and they mostly come at night. Mostly.
Hell yeah, and welcome back to the Movie Hero Network. This is Wheel of Movies, episode number 38, and we are discussing James Cameron's Aliens from 1986, aka my favorite movie of all time, and I'm happy to be talking about my favorite movie of all time. I swear I didn't rig the wheel. That's what came up. We did it on camera. There's proof. But here to join me, as always, is Richie Goodacre. Richie, how's it going, buddy?
Yeah, no, it's going good. This was last time, a couple of weeks ago we did that one of my favorite movies. So it only makes sense to do one of yours. So or your favorite movie. So this was a good time. I don't think many people can probably love this movie as much as you do, but I have watched it a lot of times, which indicates that I really like this movie as well. So it should be fun to talk about.
Well, I think, wasn't it on your 128 as well, or a whole bunch of people had it?
Yeah, probably. I think it was.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not the only one, obviously, that loves this movie. What's your number one, by the way? Do you think it'll ever come up?
Oh, I can't even. Honestly, I have to go back to the file I made to actually what my one was. But yeah.
Gotcha. Well, whatever it is, we'll get to, I'm sure, another one of your favorites as well. But yeah, we are discussing Aliens from 1986. It's going to be tough to only talk about this movie for like an hour because I could talk about this movie, all day. But we'll do our best to kind of keep it condensed here. I'm not going to do a whole lot of trivia, actually, because I feel like I could work in trivia bits as we talk about the movie because I just know a lot about the behind the scenes, of this movie just throughout the whole thing. So it would take me the whole hour just to do behind the scenes trivia bits because there's a million things for this movie. It's not like, Nothing to Lose where I found, 4 things or, some of these movies where I find, like a little, half page of stuff. It's like I get, there's books about this movie. So it's I can't really condense it there. But I'll give you a few basic things. July 18th, 1986. This movie was released. Richie, would you like to know, it was one of the top 10 movies of 86. Would you like to know the other 9 movies that were in the top 10 of 86? I'm not really going to do the same weekend type thing because multiplexes weren't really a thing yet. Like movie theaters were still kind of, you had your single screens and some that had 4 or 5 theaters, but big, 15 theater multiplexes weren't really a thing yet. But we'd like to hear the top 10 highest grossing movies of '86. So number 10, Down and Out in Beverly Hills, which I have not seen.
I've not seen
that. Number 9, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It was a big hit that year. A lot of people seeing that. Number 8, Ruthless People, a movie I just watched actually this past week, so I could actually talk to JPO about that one with Danny DeVito and Bette Midler, Judge Reinhold. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's good little comedy, not bad. The Color Purple, and number 7, the Steven Spielberg movie. We've got Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, which was a big, the one where they go to Earth. The whale one in San Francisco, all that kind of stuff. That's that one. Number 5 is Aliens, the movie we're talking about this evening. So it was a big hit, especially for a sci-fi movie. Number 4, the Rodney Dangerfield film Back to School, which
it beat Aliens.
It beat Aliens. People love them some Rodney Dangerfield, in '86. So at least in America.
Looking back at it now, I don't think. A lot of people talk about Aliens. I don't think many people talk about.
Wait till we get to number 2. You'll be familiar with number 2. So number 3, The Karate Kid Part 2, massive hit, massive hit. People love them some Karate Kid. Number 2, and this is domestic, but as well as worldwide, Crocodile Dundee, big hit. People love the Paul Hogan even over here in America. Richie, your hero. They love the Crocodile Dundee. People went out en masse to watch Crocodile Dundee. And your number 1 movie, it was the year of Top Gun, Richie.
Fair.
Big in 1986. I love them some Tom Cruise, some Top Gun. So, not the strongest overall year, I would say, for movies in general. When Cobra is on the top 15, it's probably not the strongest year. As much as I like Cobra, or Police Academy 3 is in your top 20 of the year, probably not, probably not the strongest year ever at the cinemas. But a few bright shining spots, including this movie. What?
Yeah.
Did I hear the tracker? Who's got a motion?
No, that was my dryer. So you're right.
It sounds like the motion tracker from Aliens.
Yeah. I think it sounds like it's weird. It sounds like my microwave. So I'm like, did I heat something up?
But July of '86 is what we're dealing with here. A budget of $18 million in 1986, which is not that much money actually, even adjusted for inflation. Really, it's still under $100 million, so a fairly low budget movie in today's dollars. And box office at the time, $157 million return. So this movie made quite a bit of profit. So very profitable for 20th Century Fox. Like I said, it was a hit.
Speaking of which, this is pretty good to say. You probably bring this up. Is it true that 20th Century Fox didn't want to do this movie or hesitant about doing this movie?
They were hesitant about it. They almost sold the rights off, to another studio. And it was also because there was lawsuits about the first movie. There was lawsuits about the different distributors and a lot of the people involved in Ridley Scott's movie, as far as the profits from that movie, where Fox was claiming that they lost money on the movie. It cost $10 million to make and made over $100 million the first movie. And, it was this wonky thing where they were paying out people. They had to sell a bunch of lawsuits. So they almost dropped the franchise entirely. And then, but were able to kind of skirt around the lawsuits and then, and make the movie. They were hesitant, man. This one was in development for almost as long as it was, the actual gap between Alien and Aliens. We got a 7-year gap here, which is not unheard of for a sequel. We've had length of time,
it's commonplace now.
But the normal, especially in the 80s is what, 3 years, 90s stuff, 2-3 years in between sequels. So relatively long period of time, but a lot of pre-production. There was a lot of different scripts. James Cameron was not the first guy attached to it, obviously, because he was not a known commodity, before pre-Terminator. He was a Roger Corman guy. He worked for New World Pictures. He was a camera operator, special effects guy. He had worked on this project project or another. He even worked on stuff like Escape from New York. He was like a special effects guy for Escape from New York. He was just kind of tooling around. He wrote scripts. He was a writer. At the same time he was writing, some of the stuff for Aliens. He was writing Rambo 2, if you remember. He wrote the script for Rambo 2.
Oh, that's right.
So he was selling scripts for that to kind of raise money, and got a shot here. And there's stories about, and I'm sure we'll get into it, the troubles he had at Pinewood Studios in London, trying to make this movie with the union workers who love their tea time and were employed by Pinewood and not by him personally. That he felt didn't have the same work ethic as him, and whatnot, and trying to skirt around kind of the different work ethic of England rather than the United States. So, we can get into that as we go into the movie. So just a couple of quick notes. Sigourney Weaver at the time, a highest paid role for an actress. She was paid $1 million, cool $1 million for 1986, and that was a lot of money in 1986 for an actress. And it was the highest at the time, and a percentage of the profits. So box office. So she made a pretty penny on this one, and then obviously got an Oscar nomination out of it as well. So this movie really, even post Ghostbusters, really propelled her even further into kind of stardom, for sure.
No,
I didn't know if you were
just say it was cool.
Oh no, gotcha. Okay. One of the main interesting things, kind of an Eric Stoltze situation with Back to the Future, is that James Remar was originally in the Hicks role, the Michael Biehn part, and even shot for about 2 weeks worth of footage. Initially in the movie, he was initially casted. He did all the pre-production stuff, where they were all customizing their gear and going through the kind of pseudo boot camp that the actor who was Apone, kind of put them through. But there's pictures of it. As you can see here, it's kind of a black and white montage, but I mean, he was, Hicks in the original cut. James Remar, we know James Remar. He's a pretty well-known character actor. But yeah, I mean, a lot of first stuff they shot was like that stuff around the nest, and you can actually see him very, very briefly, even in the current movie, in the very back of the line. If you squint really hard, he's kind of there in a few of the wide shots. But he was fired for a drug possession kind of thing, and got fired from the film. And then Cameron called up his buddy Michael Biehn, who they just made Terminator, obviously, and said, "Hey, I need a favor from you, buddy. Can you be in London on Friday?" Essentially, and so with no preparation and really no camaraderie with the people who were already casted for the movie, he comes in and takes over the role of Hicks. So that's something.
Wasn't James Remar the guy that took over the role of Raiden?
Yeah, he's the guy who played Raiden in Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Yes.
He took over from Christopher Lambert. Yes. So it's interesting.
But I mean, I like the guy. He's in The Phantom also. A lot of people know him as he's Dexter's dad in Dexter.
Yeah, that's what I say.
Yeah, he probably is one of his more famous roles. Yeah, he's a very, very recognizable guy. So he ended up all right. He had a good career. There was, obviously there's the two cuts of this movie, the theatrical and the special edition. We can talk about kind of the differences, a few primary sequences that were cut for the theatrical version for time. But there was one other sequence that was shot, but didn't make it into either cut. And it concerns Burke, our friend Paul Reiser, who, if anybody knows, in the theatrical version, if you watch it, it just seems like he dies, when he scurries off. But he was actually meant to just be cocooned like everybody else, and there was a sequence that they shot that was in the original script that was shot where when Ripley goes to go retrieve Newt in the nest, she passes by and finds Burke, and Burke is cocooned up in the nest much like Newt is, just kind of tied up in the thing, kind of yells at Ripley to save him, save me kind of thing, and she doesn't say anything. She just hands him a grenade and walks away. And then you hear a subsequent explosion in the background. So
I don't know. I mean, like what you get in the theatrical thing is just like that's an assumption that it's just like
he just gets taken out. Yeah,
just like, oh, what behind you?
Yeah, yeah, it's just kind of a quick, presumed death, but yes, there was kind of a follow up to it in the original script, but again, kind of cut for time and deemed sort of not necessary. But yeah, so we can talk about Burke obviously once we get into the movie. But yeah, I mean, the only other thing I'll mention before we actually kind of get into the movie is it was nominated for 7 Oscars, so this rare genre film, with science fiction, a little horror, action, getting 7 Oscar nominations. It won 2. It won for visual effects, and it won for sound editing. And then it was nominated for lead actress for Sigourney Weaver, who that eventually went to, I believe, A Room with a View. And what's her name? Oh my God, I forgot to. Let me scroll back up here. I actually got the awards pulled up. Marlee Matlin. I'm sorry, Marlee Matlin for Children of a Lesser God. Room with a View. So, which I've never seen.
It is interesting how certain Oscar movies hold up, some don't. So
yeah, some of them they like win, they're nominated for a whole bunch of awards, and I'm like, I never even heard of that movie. Big deal at the time, I guess. But nominated for lead actress, nominated for art direction, sound design, film editing, and score. So it did, pick up a fair amount of nominations and at least recognition from the Academy that year. But yeah, let's get into it. As far as what I usually do, sort of our backgrounds with the movie. Obviously, I'll probably go second. But Richie, what's your background with this movie? Do you remember the first time you checked it out? I would imagine from a video store, your dad's video store, or maybe cable.
Actually, I came to it late, but I have seen it. Like, this is probably my 8th viewing, so I've seen it a lot since then. Decent amounts, but like I came to it like. It was probably around like Prometheus time. I'm like, I haven't seen any of the alien things. And then I just like one weekend I wasn't doing anything, and then like I don't know if it was like a streaming thing. I was just like probably each movie is a couple bucks, and like and they're like, what all these alien movies? Why they don't want to bill me? Oh yeah, I'll pay you back. So yeah, I tried one weekend. I think I watched Aliens, Alien 3, and I think Resurrection, and maybe. I know I'd seen AVP before, but yeah, and so I watched them leading up to Prometheus. So yeah, it would have been a while ago, but yes, since then I go back to Aliens quite a bit. I do go back to Aliens sometimes as well, but yeah, I sort of like you. Aliens is my favorite one out of the bunch. So so. Prior to this viewing, it was probably the last one doing was maybe a couple of years ago. But yeah, it's but it is sort of one of those ones that is, I think about it and it's on decent regular rotation. So yeah, like it is sort of, that's why it's only 128, and it is sort of up there for me.
No, and obviously it's up there for me. It is my number one. It eventually surpassed, Tremors. As much as Tremors is the movie I've probably seen more than any other movie. But yeah, if I had to like tout just my favorite movie as far as from a filmmaking perspective, and just one that I think is both entertaining and just a masterpiece of filmmaking. Yes, I said it. There we go. So maybe I'll say it again. No, I mean it's just one of those movies that I just click with. And everything just works for me, and it just flows, man. From the Sigourney Weaver lead performance, which I fully tout as the greatest action hero of all time. I will defend that to my dying breath. I think she is between these two movies. I think the cinematography, the filmmaking, the direction, the cast, like this ensemble, this cast of characters is just so great. Everybody plays their role so perfectly. The score, it's just one of those movies I could put on and just get wrapped up in. And it's that great kind of perfect slow burn where it's not like slow in like a boring sense. It's just like that slow build, climbing the roller coaster, and then just you're up and down and up and down and up and down all the way to the double climax, which is great. You got the great, amazing practical effects from Stan Winston, an absolute master of his craft. It just works. And I remember that I think the first time I ever saw anything from it, I remember it coming on cable, and I didn't know what I was watching, but I know specifically the scenes I saw were the stuff where they were running through the air ducts, kind of near the end of the movie. And where, Vasquez kind of takes one-on-one, and then Newt, slides down the little corridor, into the water. That's the stuff I saw. And I was like, what is this movie? I don't know what this is. I was like 5 or something at the time, but those visuals always stuck with me, much like the visuals from Nightmare on Elm Street when she's trying to climb the stairs and it's like oatmeal, like she can't go up the stairs. Like I remember when I was a kid, and like the imagery always stuck with me, but I didn't know what I was watching. Until later. So I remember seeing that, and it always kind of intriguing me. I think my dad let me watch it eventually at some point. We just like rented, the video from Blockbuster. He watched it with me, and then I rented it several more times. And then obviously when I started getting into physical media and my Blockbuster days and just started collecting, I quickly bought like the double, special edition DVD, and then I've owned it on just about every piece of physical media you can own it on naturally since then. So, and I've probably watched it over 200 times easy. I love this movie. Watch it several times a year. Finally got to see it in a theater about 3 or 4 years ago. Actually, one of the kind of crummy theater up the road for me does classic movies occasionally, and they finally showed Alien. So not in like the most pristine theater, but it counts. I got to see it on the big screen. I at least finally got. I don't know why they play Alien all the time, Richie. Like in theaters, they always do like anniversary screenings, or we'll show Alien around Halloween time or something like that. They never show Aliens, and I don't know why that is. You would think that would be pretty popular if they were showing.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, did Alien get like as many nominations as Aliens? I feel like Aliens is, you could kind of measure maybe kind of more successful than Alien. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I can actually look up the Academy Awards and see if it actually. Let's see. That's the 52nd Academy Awards. I got it pulled up. I don't know nothing for the major awards, obviously. Nothing there, but probably for technical, right? That's where it would probably be its bread and butter. Maybe visual effects, art direction, stuff like that. So if I scroll down, nothing in sound, costumes. No cinematography, no one art direction, so it was nominated for art direction, which makes sense. It won for visual effects. Okay, so that makes sense, much like Aliens did. So at least it looks like 2 nominations and 1 win. But I mean, Aliens, 7 nominations and 2 wins, and I would just think that Aliens is widely considered one of the great sequels, in film history, right up there with James Cameron's D2 and Godfather 2, things like that. It's pretty well regarded. So I don't know why this doesn't get screened more. It's kind of baffling to me. But you can go see Alien almost at least once a year.
All the time,
yeah. Don't get me wrong. Alien's a great movie. I have no problem with Alien. But like, for God's sakes, let me go watch Aliens in the theater once a year. I'd be a very happy man. So, but yeah, let's get into it, man. Let's talk a little bit about this movie. What I like about it is you can literally watch this as a double feature with the original Alien, and it flows because this movie picks up, even though there's a 57-year time gap, Richie, like it picks up right where the other one left off with Ripley in this hypersleep, just drifting out into space.
I can't imagine how I'd react if someone said, I was like, oh, you've been asleep 57 years. Oh, okay, I was going to call my mum, but can't do that now. Yes, I'll just all right, shit. Oh man, what was I doing last night? Or not last night, 57 years ago. Night. But that's crazy. Yeah, like I couldn't imagine like just being down and out for that long. It seems absurd.
Yeah, it seems absurd, but I mean, I guess with the technology, I mean, it's possible, if she was kind of somewhat, not like cryogenically frozen, but basically in kind of a cryostasis, sort of a thing. I guess it would be possible. But yeah, it's one of the scenes. So we can start with this about the differences between. Did you watch the long cut or did you watch the short cut for this one when you rewatched it?
I think it. I'm not sure about what cut it was. It was just on that streaming site Stan.
Okay, I will tell you 2 big sequences. If you saw them or didn't see them, it'll tell you what cut it was. Did you see Newt and her family and her brother before, the Marines get there?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so you watched the short cut. No, did you see a turret gun scene where there are 2 turret guns shooting at aliens?
No.
No, okay, so you watched the theatrical cut. So there you go. Those are the two big sequences. There's about a 10-minute sequence where we see Newt and her brother and her dad, essentially her family on Hadley's Hope, operating machinery and discovering the ship and the eggs from the first film, and her dad getting the face hugger, on him, on his spacesuit, and he's the one who actually kind of brings the parasite, with him into the colony, and Newt screams. So we do see Newt and her brother, which we don't see in the theatrical cut, except for in picture, her brother Timmy. We don't see him, but there was an actor who was casted who was in that sequence. Then there's a turret gun sequence later where they say that they've got these turret guns they recovered from the ship that crashed. And there's a bit of a shootout where they're shooting them in a hallway and whatnot. But two sequences I don't think we need per se. Just for me personally, I know James Cameron says he appreciates sequences, and they're not bad scenes. To me, I feel like they kind of kill the momentum of the movie, and I think the hard cut in hearing about this colony and hearing Ripley's reaction to this colony of being like, wait a minute, you've got like 100 families there, like. Wait, what? On the same, planet where this thing was, where we found these eggs. You got families there, you got children. Like, she's freaking out. Like, what are you talking? And then cut to like 5 minutes later, Paul Reiser calling her and saying, "We've lost contact with the colony," and just seeing her face of just like, fuck, just like, well, I think that's just more effective. I also argue that I think it's more fun going to actually Hadley's Hope and LV-426 and kind of discovering the mystery of what happened, as we're discovering it with the Marines, just exploring the colony, kind of seeing the battle, the aftermath of the battle that took place, and kind of seeing the remnants of it and trying to figure out what happened to them kind of post-act, because we know what the alien can do. We've seen the eggs, we've seen facehuggers, we know that. I don't think we necessarily see it, but am I off? I mean, Richie, you might disagree with me, but
No, I'd agree here that didn't need that kind of I think that kind of just seeing that scene alone and seeing the like her reaction, and then I think, like you said, we know what the facehuggers can do, so I think those scenes were, I'm sure they were I'm sure they I realized probably what I watched a shortcut most of the time then, because while the scenes were cool, it's like it's probably not needed to there, or you don't need to. Sometimes you can tell more with less. So I think it's
Now, if I could make a Pez cut, taking at least one scene from the extended cut that's not in the theatrical, the one sequence I would take is one where Paul Reiser sits down with Ripley and explains that because of the 57-year gap, that her daughter, that was like 8 or something at the time, that she grew up and then passed away, like she's dead, like she passed away in her 60s, and is gone, and Ripley is kind of dealing with that, and kind of it's sort of a trauma for her, and she's kind of grieving that. I wouldn't mind putting like that scene in, because it's like a 2-minute scene that I think does add to the motherhood theme of the film.
And I would explain why she's so kind of protective of Newt in a way. So,
I think you can get that even without knowing that she's a mom, only because I think women of that age have that. A lot of them have that motherly instinct, anyways. To kind of that protective instinct. So and they just form a bond because it's just a natural sort of mother-daughter bond type of thing. I just think it would have added at least one other layer of her grieving and why her losing her daughter essentially from this alien attack would motivate her to protect this girl from this alien attack, make sure she survives. So if I can make a custom Pez cut where I make the theatrical cut 2 or 3 minutes longer and just add that scene, I would do it. That would be my cut if I can make a custom one.
No, I would agree. I think that would be a good addition. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, we could talk a little bit about Paul Reiser, because he shows up fairly quickly in the movie, as Burke, representing the Wayland
one of those dudes where I'm like, obviously, when you watch it the first time, okay, I don't think but you watch it, you just got that kind of slimy vibe about him, like that kind of, the I'm like, you're the bad. I'm like, I'm sure you're gonna be. If you haven't watched it, but you're the bad guy. You're gonna be the bad guy. We'll get to it. But yeah, you're a bad guy. You're creepy. You're in it for yourself. But yeah, I think when we like way back when we did like a recast of Aliens, and it was one of those ones where I won and I couldn't. I last when I couldn't make it, and he won, and I won the thing. And I think I cast Greg Kinnear because he kind of looks like him a little bit.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so because just got that, and Greg Kinnear is also known for playing those sort of like disingenuous, sort of slimy, sort of.
Well, we saw him play kind of a slimy guy in Mystery Men, almost almost like a Homelander type, superhero.
Yeah. So yeah, and he's all about like he doesn't even hide the fact he's all about like we'll get to it where it's like more about like the financial side of things and
this facility has a particular dollar value attached to it, sort of thing. And that's always like a red flag in a movie of like, oh, this guy has his orders from the corporation, from the above, right, to minimize the damage, or salvage, he doesn't really care about the colony. It's salvaging the processing, the terraforming thing, because it's a colony attached to a terraforming station where they're trying to terraform the planet, but it's a multi-decade long process. It just happened like in Total, like Total Recall, they like press the button and it starts the machine and then instantly it's like terraformed immediately. It's not like that. Like in this movie, they terraform planets, but it takes decades, to actually get the atmosphere, because they're able to go outside a little bit. It's like there is wind, but it's still very windy and non-atmospheric. It's like kind of the surface, like remember like The Martian? You saw The Martian with Matt Damon, how there's like those crazy windstorms and like it's unstable. So like it's a little stable, but not totally stable. They're like halfway through the process, kind of there.
Yeah. So yeah, no, but I thought he was great though. I liked his I like his character, but yeah, it's very. I think it does until like the reveal we'll get to, but like it's very obvious that like it's like okay, I don't that he's sort of maybe has ulterior motives, let's say.
No, he certainly does. But yeah, I mean, Ripley's hesitant to go on the mission, but she kind of agrees to go do it. We get a little quick introduction, where she's kind of working. She's helping load up, the ship and whatnot, and we get our quick view of the power loader, which is awesome. Love the power loader. It's like this mech suit, which is great. And how they did that, if you want to know, is there's literally it's a thing they built. It's kind of a suit where essentially Sigourney Weaver's kind of standing on somebody else's feet, and there's a big hulking British stuntman, big bodybuilder stuntman inside the suit behind her, literally inside the thing, walking the thing, and she's just kind of mimicking the movements, essentially standing on top of him. But it's kind of this hollow thing. But literally, you can't see it, obviously. But I don't know the guy's name, but Cameron talked about some hulking, stuntman they have from Britain, this giant dude, walking around with Ripley, walking around. So that's how that works. But it's cool as shit, and so much so that Cameron got calls from people when the movie came out, these like big shipping companies that were like, hey, where can we get one of those power loaders? Did y'all invent that for the movie? He's like, dude,
you want to borrow a British guy?
It's a movie. It's like, it's not real. Like we made up future tech that doesn't exist. But it's like how people thought hoverboards might be real after Back to the Future 2. I don't know. How'd you do that? It's called movie magic, bro.
It's like in like cop procedurals, when they like they never use a mouse in cop procedurals. It annoys me. They just type stuff, but they just type stuff, and then like video things and like holograms pop up. You're like, it'll be like an IT person running out. Go, how do you do that? I'm like, well, the technology doesn't exist. It's a movie. It's a TV show.
Yeah, we just made it up for convenience. It's like enhance image 1A. That doesn't exist. You can't do that. You can't enhance an image that doesn't exist.
It's so weird. Like, oh, can you hack into to this camera? Yeah, I'll just Q6.
Yeah, backslash. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I hacked into the system. I'm in. That's the keywords. Just say I'm in, and you're in. That's the password. But yeah, so the colony, we lose contact with them. We don't know what happened, and we're gonna hook up with some colonial marines, and we're gonna do kind of a search and rescue operation. And yeah, we get to meet a lot of the marines in kind of that one scene. The primary scene where we meet them, is when we first kind of get this lowdown with Ripley, where she's kind of giving a rundown of what happened on the Nostromo, and they're kind of snickering a little bit. They're not sure what happened, not taking it too seriously, but she does, obviously, because one of those things managed to wipe out my entire crew in less than 24 hours, and they but they think it's just going to be like a bug hunt, is what Hudson says. Bill Paxton, who's great in this movie. I love Bill Paxton so much. he's amazing.
He's so like broy in this movie that I'm like he's just so jarring that because he doesn't play that in most of those other films, that he's just
he was playing it at the time. If you remember, he's in Weird Science, and he plays kind of a bro. He plays a bro bully named Chet, and he's like that's one of the reasons he got casted in this movie, is because he's got that kind of bro energy in Weird Science, and he kind of transferred that over here. So he's got that like. And you see it even early in the movie. He pretends like he's this masculine badass, but when push comes to shove, he's kind of a pussy. Yeah, I mean, even with the knife scene, he's just not funny, man. It's not funny, man. So he's got that side to him, but at the same time, he steps up to the plate later. I mean, he gets his moment to shine. As with everybody else does in the cast. But yeah, I mean, we kind of get our primary players. We get Hicks, played by Michael Biehn, who's a little more stoic, a little quiet. He's taken a little more seriously than everybody else, and he kind of believes her. We get, like I said, Hudson as Bill Paxton. We get Gorman, who's like the new lieutenant that they don't know, that they don't trust. He's kind of like the lieutenant that came off the corporate assembly line, who has like no experience. You get like managers at restaurants and stuff that just come out of like a manager school and they've never actually worked in a restaurant, that sort of thing.
They want to do the things their way, like, oh, it's not okay. I don't know who you are, but
well, and we get the idea even through their camaraderie that this group of Marines, like, they've done a bunch of stuff together. They've been together for a while. They have that that bond. Even with Apone, their sergeant, they've got that in the Gorman guy. It's like, when you get a new manager at work and he wants to come in and impose all these new rules and change the order of things and do things a new way. And they're not too keen to it. But yeah, I mean, we meet Vasquez, played by Jeanette Goldstein, who was a white woman, in Chicano makeup. Which you can't avoid
it. Because I was like, I looked her up, and I know people. Obviously, this movie's happened a long time ago, people age, but like, if I just went past her in the street, I wouldn't stop her and go, "Oh, hey, you're Vasquez." I wouldn't have a clue. I think it's like she looks completely different.
Yes. Yeah, she's she's very much like a pretty pasty white woman for the most part. But she had a great audition and she played a great Vasquez. So I mean, it just is what it was. It was 86. This is what she looked like now. But she pops up in cameras. I mean, she's the adopted, the foster mom in T2, who
she had a small role in Titanic, apparently.
Yeah. She's the woman who puts the kids to bed as the boat is flooding. Just tells them to go to sleep. Yeah, she's the mom. But she's popped up in a lot of stuff. But yeah, I mean, you have Lance Henriksen as Bishop, which is a cool little dynamic because he's actually a good android who we don't trust, and neither does Ripley, because obviously of her experience with Ash. Yeah, her last experience with Android with Ash didn't go down too well when Ash was trying to stuff a magazine down her throat. Not too good. But it's a good dynamic because we don't necessarily trust him either, because of our history with Alien, but he ends up doing the right thing pretty much the entire movie. We just don't always think he's going to make the turn. You just kind of keep expecting it. And they tease it a couple of times throughout the movie. We'll talk about it. But yeah, he's great. And yeah, a smattering of other characters. Those are kind of our main guys as we go along. We get the kind of eating scene, that we see with the knife trick, which is a lot of fun. Where they tell him to do the knife trick.
Oh God.
Oh God! Bishop cuts himself, and they have kind of the big blow up about you just stay the hell away from me, Bishop. You got that straight. It's good stuff. But the movie's very efficient in you've got a fairly large cast, at least here at the beginning of the movie. Obviously, it gets whittled down once we get to the nest, sequence where everything kind of goes to shit. But I still think the movie does a pretty good job of giving the quick character traits of everybody, making everybody distinguishable, with their personalities, even just through a few lines of dialogue, a few interactions here and there, you get the camaraderie of the group they feel lived in. And I think they do a pretty good job of sort of establishing the primary players. Richie, what do you think?
Yeah, I think they do too. Yeah, it makes you care about them. Even like Vasquez is not on, like, I wouldn't say she's on screen like solo for a lot of the time, but you do care. You care about her for like the short amount of screen at the time that she does share with people. So it's I think that they get across the team and their personalities quite well. And yeah, I think it's a good team up. So yeah.
Yeah, no, and we get some good military stuff here with them kind of doing their their fall-ins and their combat seedings, and they go down the planet, they're falling out in line, the waves of people. And yeah, we get into I just want to shout out the smart guns that Drake and Vasquez have, which are, if you don't know, they're made out of Steadicam rigs. So those are literally like, if you've seen Steadicams, Richie, when people film stuff, it's like this thing that goes around your waist and kind of around your chest, like this almost like vest, harness type thing, so that the camera can stay still and you can run around and whatnot. And it was literally just a Steadicam rig, which had been invented 10 years before, around the time of Rocky, because they used it for the Rocky running of the steps sequence. It was one of the first Steadicam shots in history. But yeah, it's like a Steadicam rig and just this like camera rig essentially that they turned into a gun. It's pretty cool for what they did. Yeah, no, I mean it's just again, you got to invent cool tech, right? And that's just a cool tech of like just these giant. They're holding out these giant guns, and Drake and Vasquez are the ones with the big ones, so they go in first, which is great.
The United States Army is ringing James Cameron. Hey, where do you get that gun?
It's a prop, bro. We made it out of the camera rig. Yeah. And yeah, the actual M41A pulse rifles are kind of a combination of Thompson machine guns and Franchi Spas 12 shotguns, kind of with a just a shell they made, for the actual guns. So it was kind of a semi-working gun that they could put blanks into, but it was like they put this kind of futuristic shell just on top of another gun. Essentially is what they did. Which is what they're, and they're cool guns, for what they are. They're pretty awesome. So we get some good tech, not like super advanced, we're not using laser guns, we're still using basic, rounds, but there's enough like future tech to where it looks futury. It looks looks cool enough. No HD screens though, still those old like TV monitors all over the place, from 1986. What are you gonna do? It's 86. We get the motion trackers, which is a great credit to the sound design of this movie, with that unique noise where it's like it first does the thump, 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 and it's a great like tension builder. And then when somebody actually comes within the frame, they're ringing, just like the little thing. It's a great noise and a great technique to use to kind of amp up the tension whenever somebody something is out there. It's without showing it. It's like Jaws. It's building up. You don't want to blow your wad on the first 10 minutes. You want to build up the suspense a little bit, get that slow build, tease a few things here and there, and really like make. It's a thing I miss with movies is the patience of this movie. It's not like it's boring. It's just we take time to build up to the we don't have a giant climax at the beginning of the movie and then go from there. It's like let's build the suspense a little bit and then get to some blow-offs.
It's putting tension without maybe because if it was like a horror movie these days, it'd be a little tension and then someone would come on the screen and then be like, oh god, sorry, you scared me. It'd be like a jump scare. It'd be like a jump scare. Like no, you can build tension and kind of imply there's something ominous, coming without like kind of, doing like a, sort of doing this sort of fake out like jump scare bullshit. That's
the cat jumping out of the cabinet, or just somebody like tapping somebody on the shoulder and making a loud noise. I mean, they do like one guy does run into another guy and kind of makes him jump, but we don't get like the stupid music sting to make us jump. It's dumb because that's not a thing. Did the person in the movie hear that? No, that's not a thing. You're just trying to make the audience jump. That's silly. No, I mean, we get enough of a sense of dread, just by seeing the torn apart colony. We see these barricades that are torn apart. We see these giant holes in the floor where it's like the acid for blood is burned through the stuff. We see these half-eaten plates of food, in the mess hall. Something happened big. And we know that whatever it is, it's dangerous and there's nobody around. So where did they all go? I don't know. We got to figure it out. And it's pretty great. But they figure out, they get the trackers online because I guess everybody has maybe a chip in their arm or something like that, kind of a locator sort of a thing. So they figure out they're all at this like processing station for the terraformer. And it's time to go in. And man, I love the set design of this nest. I just think it's so cool. It's that classic Giger design where like everything looks very like wiry and mechanical, like that black. It just looks like leathery a little bit. It looks like just like some kind of wall. And what they actually did, Richie, is you don't see them, initially when they're kind of panning around, like when the attack's about to begin. What they did was they carved these almost like silhouette kind of holes in the walls to where the guys in the suit could like press up against it and like blend seamlessly into the actual set, so you wouldn't notice it until they kind of step out of it, as they do in some of the scenes, right? And again, it's a cool little trick to like blend right into it, but they blended these walls and this nest to make it look like the aliens, and it's a great little effect. It's really cool.
That's pretty cool. I don't know that, but this nest looks pretty dope, man. It's a lot of ingenuity in this film, and
and we have to amp up the stakes as well because there's no firing in there. We can't have people firing. So
I didn't realize. You'll blow up if you use your gun.
It's essentially like a nuclear power plant as well. So if you leak something and something blows up, it's going to blow up the whole facility and cause like essentially a nuclear meltdown, which is not good. Like they can't fire like they have like explosive tipped rounds, things like that. So they have to collect the magazines, and they can only use flamethrowers. Hicks has an old school, just like Mossberg shotgun, which is cool. So he pulls that out like just an old school one, which is
non-explosive. Later on there, we'll get
Vasquez. Well, she didn't pull out the bullet. She pulled out her like firing pin, her like clip or something like that. But she had a spare one in her bag, so she just pulls out another one and hands one to Drake. She had an extra one.
I'm like, oh, what are you doing?
I mean, we have the one, we get our one kind of chest burster scene of the movie with the woman, they find who's still alive for a minute, and then she, kill me, and the chest burster, pops out of her. It's a great effect. And how they do that stuff is it's just a whole like it's just a set piece, and obviously the person is just standing on something behind the actual set with their face, inside the thing, acting, and because their arms aren't moving or anything like that, just kind of stationary. It's just a fake body, and they punch the chest burster through it. They burn her up, and that makes the aliens very, very mad. And we get our first kind of real big action sequence, where they get ambushed and they don't show up on infrared. And they wipe out like 5 of the Marines in the scene, like all the, extra people go down. You get Wiersbasky goes down, Frost goes down. A bunch of these like kind of side characters that we saw, but not much of. We got to whittle this cast down a little bit, Richie, at some point, because we have like 12 Marines running around. You got to whittle it down to like 5 or so, so it's a little more manageable. So you got to have a little bit of a body count.
No. I just like the look of the look at the webs and stuff. It reminds me of I've always liked that kind of the way things like look like web, like like 8-legged freaks when they're spun in the web. So it looks kind
Oh
of
yeah. No, it's very, and again, I've always talked about like slime and goo. It looks very gooey and slimy.
Yeah.
It looks like hardened mucus or something. It's kind of gross. It's just very shiny and like weird. And everybody gets put in there has like slime all over their face and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I miss goo in movies. We need more slime in movies. At least Fede Alvarez with Alien Romulus brought back the goo in a couple of scenes. Yeah, that was good. But yeah, I mean, as as Hudson says, we got our asses kicked, pal. They get taken down. They take a pretty big hit here in this action scene. So good little moments here where I love the little bit where, this is the first sequence where Ripley really kind of takes over and takes charge of the situation because Gorman is a fuck up,
and he takes over the ship and it takes over the so
because he's just saying, fall back, fall back by squad, blah, blah. Like no, like let's go in there and get him. And so I'll point out the APC, the actual kind of vehicle they're traveling in, is one of these. It's actually an airport transportation vehicle. Essentially, it's one of those. It's almost like a tank where it tows like jumbo jets. So one of those things that tows jumbo jets around airports. So it's one of those types of vehicles, and only in real life goes like 8 miles an hour. It's very, very slow. So it's a mixture of the actual full size thing that they then dressed, obviously, with an outer shell, futuristic shell, and then there's a lot of model work in this movie, Richie. It's a lot of miniatures and models, like a lot of miniature versions of these things. So there's a 10th scale APC, they run through these little miniature sets, but make it look, life size. And miniature work is a really kind of a lost art. I mean, it's a real big thing in like Aliens. It's a real big thing in Star Wars, the original, 3 movies. There's a lot of miniature work, models, and it's really kind of a lost art. And I really appreciate it.
I think that may be ahead of its time because on the outside of it looked like a Cybertruck.
A little bit, yeah. Maybe Elon Musk is a big fan of aliens. He's like, I'm gonna make a truck that looks like that. A little bit, with the flat kind of metal paneling and the big, goofy wheels. But yeah, I mean, she takes charge and she kind of, she goes in there and rescues, at least the ones that are still alive. Yeah, we kind of whittle it down to like Vasquez and Gorman. And we got Burke, we've got, Hicks and Hudson, and that's pretty much it. We got to whittle it down a little bit, not have like 12 people running around. Bishop's there too, obviously. But yeah, we get our asses kicked, Richie. So we got to come up with a plan, and we got to see how the hell we're gonna, retreat and get the hell out of there. But this is where you can really side with Ripley. And you see that Hicks is also a smart character because, they're kind of like, well, what do we do? And Ripley's like, well, I say we just take off and nuke the site from orbit. and then even Hudson's like, well, fucking A, man, let's go. Like they're not stupid. They're just like, yeah, no, we're not going to stand here and fight. Let's get the hell out of Dodge and just bomb everything. Like, let's just blow it up. Like, great. Sounds good. And this is where we get the first inklings of Burke, the Paul Reiser character being like, well, this facility has a certain dollar value attached to it. I can't really authorize, such an action. And they're just like, well, this is a military operation. Go fuck yourself, essentially. Like we're leaving, and we're gonna blow these guys up, essentially. So, but this is your first red flag, Richie, of like, yeah, Burke might not have the best intentions going here.
Definitely. Definitely the first red flag here, and more to come. You play. It's always like the meek nerdy guy in action. You got to look out for. It's like, he's either gonna be like a unlikely hero, or he's like, a
backstabbing weasel, essentially.
Backstabbing weasel,
No, and it doesn't take us long to find out, how much of a backstabbing weasel it is, because they come up with a little bit of a plan. They're going to remote, fly down an extra, ship essentially that's on the Sulaco. They're going to remote fly it down, but Bishop's got to go out. And he's got to do the Shawshank Redemption crawl through the tunnel, which is what I call it. Shawshank's very similar to this, where Tim Robbins is kind of shimmying through the the pipe. Like, I think Bishop kind of did it first here, man. He's like shimmying through that damn pipe, trying to get to the other end. It's pretty great. And Lance Henriksen has talked about, because I listen to these commentaries and whatnot. He really was in this like pipe on this set where they had the smallest camera you'd ever seen on this little tiny little wagon sort of thing, just pulling it in front of him, in this little pipe, getting those real close-up face shots of him, just kind of shimmying through this thing. But man, the claustrophobia would be off the damn charts with that thing.
I couldn't do that. I see like clips of people like in caves and stuff, like in small
cabins. Screw that, dude. You'll never find me in like a little cave like crawling around. Hell no.
Yeah.
Hell no.
Yeah, like seeing like stories of like people like getting trapped in caves forever, and the body get out. I'm like, nah, I'm good. They're not that adventurous.
Yeah. But yeah, we haven't really talked about the other character who we discover there's a survivor of the colony, Newt, played by Carrie Henn, who we find out she's been crawling around the air ducts. She's been surviving, but her parents and her brother were all killed kind of in the attack, but she's been surviving, kind of wandering around the facility. She doesn't trust the Marines because she's like, I know I'm safer crawling around these damn air ducts than with you guys. You guys are gonna get killed. I'm just better off by myself. But it's where we get this first instinct of like, you see this connection with Ripley and her, of just like, this girl is all alone, like she survived, and you know what, I'm gonna make it my mission essentially, to make sure she survives. Like, this is my mission now, is to make sure she gets out of here. And I think she's great, right? She's one of the better kind of kid actors I've seen in the movie. And this is her first acting gig, by the way. She'd never acted before and didn't act since. It's her only movie.
Yeah, as far as I know, I looked her up. She didn't act since
she just became a teacher.
Yeah, she's a teacher, and she still appears at like cons and stuff.
She goes to like reunions and Q&As and Comic-Cons and things like that for sure. But she basically just became a teacher. She told a story at one of the Q&As I watched years ago where she was, teaching, she like teaches like elementary school or something like that. And then she went to do like a parent teacher conference or something, or like a parents night, something like that. And one of the dads came up to her and was like, Miss Henn, so I Googled your name. Would you sign this DVD for me? And she's just, she's gotten that over the years where people were like, kind of like figure it out kind of on their own. Like, she doesn't advertise that she's Newt from Aliens, but like people will, sometimes look up the name and like, this movie will pop up and she'll, they'll figure it out, and then she'll like sign stuff for parents and whatnot. So she tells stories about that, which is it's just fun. I think she's got that right amount where like, she's not super recognizable, but if you met her and realized who she was, like, it'd be pretty cool,
it's kind of the, I don't know, it'd be the comfortable amount of fame that I'd be comfortable with, I guess, as well. It's like,
you can go to a Comic-Con and get the cool attention from like the fans of the movie, but like slip into regular life afterwards, and not be like recognized.
It's cool. But no, I thought she was really, really good. And the fact that they plucked her out of sort of, she hadn't acted before. Sometimes these happen a little. These happen sometimes. It's like the people plucked out of wherever, and you're like, man, I can't believe you haven't acted before. But she was that's one of the better like kid performances, and she has immediately she has really good chemistry with Ripley, and I think was she supposed to be British in the film, or like
no, I mean they auditioned and looked at a bunch of British people because obviously they were filming in England, and they were kind of required by law to like audition British actors and actresses and kids, but what they said was everybody they auditioned in Britain were British kids, but they had all done commercials. So all these kids, every time they would deliver a line, they would smile at the end of it like a commercial. And they just didn't know how to do anything else. And since Carrie Henn was not an actress, she was just a military brat. She lived with her parents on a military base in England, but she was American. And they somehow, got her in there or discovered her. And since she didn't have acting, she didn't know, this whole like smiling thing, like a kid, commercial thing. So she just, said the lines, with the conviction, and it worked because they needed somebody who was traumatized, somebody who's, traumatized and kind of that silent like trauma of like this kid who's just on her own, who's been on her own for a month, and they didn't want the smiley, happy,
oh gosh, I'm trapped in here.
I've been eating Pop-Tarts. you know, yeah, like you need that energy, and she brought that energy. So yeah, no, she's very very good, and she has some great lines in the movie. But yeah, they kind of bond, and yeah, we get our I would say the closest thing to a horror sequence in the movie, which is the med lab facehugger sequence. You know, in the movie, it's kind of the closest thing to like a straight horror, you know, sequence. The way like the lights go out, you get this red lighting, really cool red lighting, kind of lighting up the room, and yeah, somehow there's two facehuggers have gotten in there. We don't know how. We find out very soon after, you know, what actually happened. But they get in there and they got to fight them off. And yeah, there's some really cool stuff where they're kind of, yeah, you know, it's almost got Ripley at one point. It's like wrapped around her neck. We get to see more of the facehuggers than we saw in Alien, because you get to see like the little thing that comes out of its mouth to go down your throat, which is really gross, you know, and like the tail and everything, you know, as it almost gets them. But they set up the fire alarm. They're able to get escape. But it was all that Burke, damn it, Richie, that corporate guy wanted to plant those eggs in him and get him back, you know.
It's a way to get him past, get him through, to Earth without
customs and quarantine, essentially, undetected.
So, and then when he was confronted, he didn't really. It was weird. It was like confronted all this evidence initially. It was like this very soft denial, and he was like, whatever. it wasn't. He just sort of like didn't deny it in the end. He was just like, Yeah.
Well, yeah, he basically admits it by going, you know, I thought you were smarter than this, Ripley. I really thought you were, you know, more intelligent. Like, he's basically saying, like, you know, we can make a lot of money off of this if you just go along with my Weasley scheme. We can all come out of this looking like heroes to my company. And you know, Bill Paxton's having no. It's just like, you're fucking dog meat, pal. Like, we're gonna he's ready to just shoot him right there. He's like, screw it, man. We're just gonna, you know, just shoot this guy and ditch him. He's ready. But yeah, the power goes out. And yeah, we get another great sequence where you know, it's pretty much nonstop from here to the rest of the movie. I mean, it's like one almost action set piece after another once they break in, because we bust out the motion trackers again. Somehow they're in the facility, and it's a great reveal when they're kind of in the room, and it's like they're inside the room. Like, no, they're not. Like, they're not, like, we're looking at the door. No, they're not. And we go up and we get that great shot where he pokes his head up through the ceiling, and you just get that reveal of like 5 of them just crawling, you know, right towards him. It's a great, it's almost kind of a horror moment. It's a great oh shit moment of like, oh shit, like we're in trouble. Yeah.
With as I say, with when Vasquez, and who's one with Vasquez, the what's his name, the one that was
Gorman, like the lieutenant.
Yeah. Well, they realize they're fucked, and then just like,
you're talking about the grenade sequence. No, that's one of my favorite moments. Yeah, Vasquez, one of my favorite badass moments in the movie, where she's kind of behind Ripley as they're running through the tunnel, and like one comes down from like above her, but she's able to fight it off, and she has like the struggle, and she kicks, like she presses like the alien's head up against the wall and just like pops him like a couple of times with a handgun. Like, it's great. But yeah, Gorman gets like his pseudo, you know, redemption moment of the movie, because he's at least realized he screwed up, and he's kind of relinquished his command, you know, to Hicks and Ripley, you know, so he's kind of fallen back into the background. But I think from that moment on, he at least gets a little bit of a redemption by going back and trying to save, you know, Vasquez. And, you know, they end up kind of both sacrificing themselves with like a grenade, but it's still a cool little, again, a nice little character payoff and moment in this movie where it didn't, you know, a lesser movie would not take the time to do something like that, you know, I think, and to have this moment. With
when you have like, when you're basically cornered, you can't either going to just get eaten while trying to fight, or just do what they did. So and
go out in the blaze of glory, baby.
What did you say? I always hated you.
You always were an asshole, Gorman.
An asshole going in the grenade.
Yeah, the grenade pops off. Yeah, it's great. Hudson goes down too, Bill Paxton. You know, he at least, you know, he's kind of the oh shit, you know, kind of scaredy cat guy. But when it comes time to fight, I mean, he stands there and he fights. I mean, give him credit. You know, he steps up and he's, you know, you want some, motherfucker? You know, come on, you want some too? But they come up from bottom and kind of pull him, and they get him. Unfortunately, he goes down. He's one of the few guys, along with Lance Henriksen, who's been killed by an alien, a predator, and the Terminator in 3 different movies. So because he gets taken out by the aliens in this one. He's in the original Terminator. He's one of the gang guys in the original movie that gets killed by Arnie, and then he's in Predator 2, and he gets taken out by the Predator. So one of those guys. And Lance Henriksen is in Terminator, Aliens, and AVP. So he's in all of those. But yeah, so yeah, a couple more people go down. Nuke gets lost. She goes down kind of that little slide thing, and they try to escape. But it's that great shot where she's waiting kind of in the water, holding the doll, and just that great shot of the alien like popping out of the water, like tail first, and just kind of rising out of the water and grabbing her, and that great scream. That's a very like horror moment as well. I think it's been brilliantly shot, really, really good.
Yeah, I think like that's one thing that could sort of highlight too. Like it can usually things like that can get grating sometimes, but like she had a great horror scream.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's it's great.
Yeah. So
it's one of the reasons she got the job is they asked her to scream, and she had a very blood curdling, great scream, which is very important for a movie like this.
Yeah. So no, it was a good shot as well.
Yeah, but I mean, you see the pain on Ripley's face when Nuke gets taken. She's doing no, she's just
I failed again.
And that's what she thinks. She thinks she's failed again, and she's lost another one, and she's like, no, she's alive. They keep you alive, this sort of thing. And she put the tracker on her. It was a nice little plant, put the little wristband, the little watch like tracker thing on her so she can track her. It's a great little funny bit where they finally get to Bishop, who's at the thing, and he's like, they've got the ship, and he's like, how much time? Oh, we got plenty. We got like 27 minutes. We got plenty of time to get out of here. And she's just like, we're not leaving. He's like, we're not. he's like a little kid, and so we're not leaving. Oh shit. But yeah, like she's got to go back for Nude. I mean, again, this is her mission, Richie. She's determined to not lose this little girl, like no matter what. So she arms herself with some of the weaponry. Now that she's got some supplies, in the thing, she grabs a armful of grenades. She's got a flamethrower attached. She literally just duct tapes a flamethrower to the rifle, which is great. Good. They still got duct tape in the future, Richie. Good old fashioned. You can fix anything.
Yeah,
just strap them together.
That's gonna survive time. Like duct tape, it's just never gonna not come in handy for future generations to come.
No, and it comes in handy here because she straps them together with duct tape. She's got kind of her double weapon. She grabs some flares, and to kind of leave like her breadcrumb trail, into the nest. And she's got some grenades, and we're off to go see if Newt's still alive. This is where I told you the scene would have happened where she would have encountered Burke again and just handed him a grenade if he wanted to commit suicide, before the chest burster, which he does. And again, the scene they shot but didn't make the final cut would have been in there. But again, I think we're more focused on Nude at this point, so it would have been a little bit of a diversion of just like, losing track of our mission. I think it works a little bit better of like, the mission is Newt right now. It's not Burke. Like let's get to
Burke's story's done when he
weasels out of the room, when they're fighting and goes to run off and run out of there, and he gets caught. You know what I mean? Like it's I'm fine with that. Like it's not the most satisfying death ever, but he gets taken out, so it's fine. It's not like he survives the movie. No big deal. So finally gets finds Newt right as she's about to get the face hugger, freeze her out of there, and then we get one of my favorite practical effects in movie history, Richie, is this alien queen. Holy shit, does this thing look amazing? And the reason why it works is because it's freaking real. It's real. This is a Stan Winston creation. He's one of the masters of animatronics and marionettes and puppets and things like that. Obviously, he would go on to make the Predator. He went on to make the animatronics, the dinosaurs for Jurassic Park for Steven Spielberg, which also look incredible, in that movie. All those close-ups of the dinosaurs there. This thing took like 15 people to work, Richie. It's insane. Even just when it's in its little perch, when she first encounters it, when it's strapped to the egg sack thing, right, just laying eggs. I mean, you got like one guy. You got like two guys operating one arm, two guys operating another arm. You got 4 people working the head. You got somebody working the face. You got somebody else working the mouth that comes out of the face. You know what I mean? It's an insane project when you look at behind the scenes. And Winston's talking about how it's, I think to this day, he holds the record for the biggest marionette puppet or whatever it's called, to this day in Hollywood history, because this thing is huge. It was like a, 15, 20 foot high, Queen puppet. And I just think this looks incredible, man. This is what I love about, old school practical filmmaking and stuff like this.
Yeah, no, that looked. I wasn't aware it was actually real. I'd love to go back and watch the behind the scenes of that. That's kind of cool. But yeah, it looked really awesome. So yeah, that's very, very impressive.
Well, I mean, it had to be real. There's no CGI. I mean, if you remember, this is 86. Ain't no CGI, bro. This is real. I mean, this is, they had to make things real. I mean, there was stop motion. There's somewhat composite shots, things like that. They were going to do some stuff with stop motion, but they said it just didn't look right when they initially did some. Some testing of things like that. So they did what you had to do back in the day. Is you just had to make things for real. And that's what they did. So, I've got a quick picture of it I think most people have seen this movie, but, if you look at this, that's the scale of it. I mean, look at the detail on that thing, man. Look at all the different pieces, left and right. The actual head is like the size of a person, and you see the scale of it, and it's incredibly detailed, and it's insane to look at. And I think it's a great addition, again, what a sequel can do as far as expanding the mythology of the aliens and introducing a new element without tarnishing the original. Introducing this queen is a really cool upgrade and a really cool thing without going insane over the top, but a natural progression of things to me.
Yeah. I tend to agree with that. Yeah, it's going that extra mile without kind of going a bit too crazy.
Yeah, for sure. And we get this kind of standoff. It's like a Mexican standoff kind of thing where, she's about to sick the aliens on her, but they have the standoff where she's, puts her gun to the eggs, and the queen is smart. I mean, these aliens are intelligent. That's another thing I like about them is they adapt, and they're not stupid. They figure things out very quickly. That it's okay, let me go, or I'm going to blow your kids away. We're going to go, and the queen reneges on her thing, and she sends him after him. So she's like, she just torches the entire, egg, this entire nest, and the queen has a bit of a meltdown. And but again, it's a great effect of all this fire and blowing up the egg sac. It's gross and nice and slimy and gooey, when all the stuff is coming out of it, and it's on, and the chase is on. They chase. There's one shot where. Stan Winston said it was the most difficult shot when you see the actual queen kind of running down the hallway, kind of stomping like this. And it was they had to actually get the marionette to kind of move, a run. And it was super crazy.
No.
Excuse me, coughing real quick. Sorry about that. I dried my throat out. Question about this movie. Yeah. No. Talking about this movie, I drive my throat out. But they get up the elevator. The queen figures out how to use the elevator and go after them. Again, very, very adaptive, very smart alien. And this is where we get our tease of Bishop, because again, we don't know whether or not we can trust Bishop. He said he was going to stay and wait for Ripley, and they get up to that landing dock, and there's that tease of oh, God damn you, Bishop. They took off and they left. She's like, oh shit, close your eyes. And it's this very tense sequence where he finally flies in at the last second and picks her up. And it's this really cool climax where the music's blaring, the queen is coming up the elevator, the sense of dread. And then they take off and the facility blows up, and you're kind of oh, is that the end of the movie? Cool. That. Hey, that was a great movie. I'm cool with that. We got to see this cool queen, a big explosion, and we think it's the James Cameron double climax. It's the first of 2 climaxes, and we're not done yet. And I think it's a great, not that I forget that there's another kind of sequence after this, but you sometimes forget because you're just oh, there's the big blow up. Everybody, it's all done. We're finished.
Yeah,
and it's great.
Yeah. yeah, it's like if they left it there, it's like okay, that was like that would have been fun. But yeah, that's like that's a classic like right up into the sunset moment. But yeah, it's like no, actually, it's like uh, someone also boarded this this aircraft. So yeah.
Well, James Cameron's kind of a master of the double climax because you remember in Terminator, there's like you remember when they blow up like the gas tanker truck and there's like the big fire and the big explosion and then so you think that might be like the end of the movie and then the Terminator crawls out of the explosion and then they have the smaller sequence in the machine factory. It's kind of a more like close up sequence. Same with T2, you get like this big chase with the helicopters and the cryogen, the hasta la vista baby, and you think it's over, but then like it's not over, and we keep going to the smaller kind of character based scenes with the same thing. Because the Queen, stowed away on the transport. You get the great, that amazing shot of when Bishop, the tail goes through Bishop and lifts him up and then rips him in half. It's like, oh god damn it! Oh
yeah, that gooey moment. It's just all this goo just piles out of his inside.
All that white milky goo, that just spews everywhere. But he's still alive. He's just like kind of flailing around, as a torso. But goes after Newt and Ripley. Ripley kind of tries to distract her, and it's a great thing where it's a callback, the ultimate callback to something that you might have forgotten about at this point, Richie, of the power loader, where how the hell are they going to get out of this one? I can't go toe to toe with this Queen. Is about to grab Newt, and then it's an amazingly staged shot where you get like the gate kind of slowly comes up. You see the feet of the power loader. It does the full reveal. Like the arms are up, like the siren little things are going. You take the few steps. As you give the audience a chance to kind of catch up and remember the power loader from the beginning. And we get, I think, one of the great like fuck you lines in history of just the get away from her, you bitch. And it's so good. And Galen Hurd, the producer of the movie, who was James Cameron's wife at the time, they didn't do any test screenings for this movie, which is kind of interesting. Back in '86, you can get away with that, not doing like test audiences. They did the premiere, and it was all for Hollywood people. They did this premiere at like midnight, and she said, "Man, when Sigourney said that in the movie, the get away from her, you bitch," it tore the fucking house down, and that's how they knew they were gonna have a good hit on their hands, because it's like a total like fist pump like moment of like let's fucking go, like let's go, and you're just like, and you get this great just back and forth with like essentially a mech suit versus a queen, and it's like one of the coolest things ever, and I love it. It's so awesome.
So it's almost like a massive battle bot.
Right. But again, what I like about it is, again, the Queen is not stupid. She gets smacked like twice, kind of back and forth. But when Ripley goes for a third, like the Queen starts to like duck and like ducks another one, and then like grabs and changes strategy and is trying to hit her with like the mouth in the middle, like trying to snap at her, things like that. Just is adapting, to the fight, kind of in real time, which is really cool. Ripley fights back with the blowtorch. And again, you get a similar climax to Alien, but with a slight twist, because remember the first one, Ripley just strapped herself in and then just like opened the hatch essentially, and the alien, got sucked out into space, right? Well, Ripley's like, okay, I'll try that again. Let me open the hatch and see if I can just suck the alien out. And it works to a degree, but on the way down, the Queen grabs, the thing is like, fuck you, you're coming with me. You know what I mean? Like, and pulls her on, and that's, she's got to escape, this thing and close the hatch. But it's just a slight twitch where she's still got to like, gnaw her way out of the situation. So it's enough different, but kind of the same.
It's good. It's like one inadvertently funny thing, just the way it like where like Newt's about to go down, and then like because there's only a torso, Bishop scurries. In the way he's scurrying as a torso, he looks funny.
But he's able to kind of still like grab a hold of the grating and then like hang on to her. It's prevent her from getting sucked out. So I mean, he's still a hero. He does what he can as a little torso. He doesn't look too good at the end of this movie. And there's a great just payoff, earned a moment where it's all kind of over, and then Ripley goes to Newt, and Newt grabs her and hugs her and calls her mommy. It's a great full circle thing of just like how she doesn't need. Richie, I feel movies nowadays try to over explain things and over monologue things and over dialogue things. Like she doesn't sit there and go, well, I lost my parents and you stepped up as my mom and I love you now and I appreciate that. And everybody doesn't go, well, I lost my daughter and you're now my new daughter and I knew I had to say it. They just hug and she calls her mommy. That's all you need. Movies over explain shit now. It bugs me.
Certainly, they undo all that in Alien 3, but anyway, it's cool.
Yeah, it's the one thing that as a movie, as a film, I defend Alien 3 because I think there's some good filmmaking going on there, and I do think there's some good things about it. But yeah, it's still a kick in the balls, like the first 5 minutes where they just kill off Hicks and Newt, the two people you cared about that survived from the first from Aliens. It's still a kick in the gut, and you're just like, well, shit, man. But at the same time, even the character of Ripley in Alien 3, there's a moment where they're, putting her in they're not doing an autopsy per se, but she's saying goodbye to her. They're about to put her in this morgue thing. And she's Sigourney Weaver's just devastated and bawling her eyes out. And it's one of her great moments as an actress, though. It's a really good moment. She really sells it, that she lost another daughter. But yeah, it is kind of a kick in the gut of she went through hell literally to, save this girl. And then we just bump her off at the end of the opening credits, in Alien 3. Yeah. It's, what are you going to do? It's you got to make another sequel. Well, that does remind me of three things that, Sigourney Weaver wanted for this movie for her character to do that. Luckily, James Cameron had the wherewithal to say no, because sometimes you got to say no to some of these things. The three things were she wanted to die in the movie, which she did not get her request granted. She wanted to not have any guns, and James Cameron was like, they're Marines, they have guns. That's just the way it's going to work. And you're going to use a gun too. And she wanted to have sex with an alien.
Why don't you want to have sex with an alien? That's the weird.
I don't know. She just had these weird requests. But if you think about it, between Alien 3 and 4, she kind of got all three checked off because her character dies at the end of Alien 3. There are no guns in Alien 3. It's like all the prisoners using just tools and crowbars and lead pipes and whatever they can find around the facilities. There's really no guns in that movie. And then she kind of has sex with an alien in Resurrection with that goofy one at the end, kind of. She kind of got her wish between 3 and 4 when she became a producer. So it eventually happened, I guess, when you have enough power.
Ripley doesn't come across as that kind of, not that she's asexual, she doesn't come across as that kind of, almost like that sexual character that kind of would be oh, you could swoon by anything, have time to be swooned by an alien and have a sex scene. So it'd be out of place in this movie for sure.
Well, because they don't even do anything there's a few moments between her and Hicks where you wonder if they're going to do a love story between them. They kind of give each other sort of a wink and a nod, here and there when he's showing her how to use the gun and things like that, and, they have a bond, but you don't feel like it turns into a romantic bond, it's just you get me, I get you. We're both on the same page as far as wanting to survive and being smart characters, essentially, it's we get the mission here. We're not here to play around, but you don't think it is going to develop in anything. I don't know if it would have had they brought Michael Biehn back for a third one. I don't know, but maybe. But yeah, I don't feel like she kind of has those character traits anyways. She doesn't come off somebody that cares about that at all. I think the only relationship she wants is this motherly relationship with Newt, that kind of develops. That's really all I get from it for the most part.
It'd be like in action movies where they there's all this action, all this, stuff going on behind the characters, and then they have to stop and make out for a bit. You got plenty of time to do that when you survive. Just you know what I mean? You've got other things, bigger things, fish to fry here. Just you don't need to worry about your hormones.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, we live to they survived the movie, and there were no other movies after that. It was just a perfect, alien and aliens, and it just works. And it's one of the great features of all time.
Then a few years later, Romulus came out, and that was good. But yeah.
Yeah, and Romulus came out and bridged the gap between the two, and that was about it. All right, sounds good. Yeah. But yeah, we'll try to wrap it up there. I know we've gone a little longer than we usually do, but it's aliens. What are you gonna do? But yeah, let's wrap it up here. Richie, yeah, I know you haven't seen it as many times as me, and I'm sorry if I geeked out a little more than I usually do.
You're right.
Thing, but it's my favorite movie. What are you gonna do? But yeah, your final thoughts and kind of overall feelings on Aliens, man.
Yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite sci-fi movies all the time. One of my favorite sequels all the time. Yeah, I was on my 128. Yeah, I would definitely be still be in my rotation for rewatch. Yeah, it's fantastic, fantastically performance, great cast of characters, and yeah, just a fun time. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed my rewatch.
Oh yeah, no, and this is a movie I can watch and put on any time and just get sucked into the world and get wrapped up, into the tension, into the action, into the payoffs. Still makes me, kind of internally cheer. At the end of this movie, some of the great moments, the great badass characters. What makes it work though is the writing. It's the writing. It's the characters. It's the performances that they take the time to really develop everybody in this movie. And that's what really works. And that's why I think it's stood the test of time. All the practical stuff we talked about with the Stan Winston creations and the set design, it's tangible. You can feel it. It's right there, which is something you can always go back to. And yeah, it does what a good sequel should do, Richie. It's like, you're not exactly retreading the first movie. You're hitting a couple of the callbacks and the points and things like that, but you're making it your own. You're respecting the mythology of the first one, but you're taking it in a slightly new direction without being disrespectful to the first one. Because again, it kind of merges into a new genre. The first one's definitely more of horror sci-fi, and this one's more action sci-fi, which is cool though, because you could, it's whatever your preference is. Some people like Alien more than Aliens because they like that horror thing, and I totally understand that. That's totally cool. And then this one has more of an action bend, and I just click with it a little bit more than Alien. But it's no disrespect; both movies are great. But yeah, it's what great sequels should be is doing something a little bit new while still respecting the old one, and not completely shitting on it. And it just works like that.
Yeah, no, definitely, and yeah, it's a great film.
Yeah, no, great film. There's nothing else I can say. If you haven't seen it in a long time, go back and watch it again. It still works. And watch the theatrical cut. I prefer it over the long cut. I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, so let's wrap it up there because we got some wrestling to talk about in a little bit. So we got to wrap it up here for Wheel of Movies. But Richie, anything you want to throw out there? Anything you got going on?
Just Lonely Marks in a few minutes. Tournament fights. I'll be on coming up soon too. I'll be on a top 12 in remakes you want to see thing with JPO and Jacob Barber. So that should be fun. I was interesting making that list. And beyond that, I shop on Lights Out sometimes, and while we love horror, and so you can see me all around those places. So
yeah, no, and you can find me. Excuse me, obviously co-hosting and or hosting a lot of the stuff here on the Movie Hero Network. We had a tier ranker last night of TV shows from the 70s and before. So it was a fun little throwback to some very old school TV shows, kind of geeking out over a few of those. We had a good time. We did some Seen and Heard trivia this week. We finally got into the next round of the semifinal round of the Seen and Heard tournament. So we're starting to wrap that up. We've got a couple of tournaments and tiers coming up. We don't know what we're doing for Wheel of Movies next, but we'll probably spin the wheel most likely tomorrow night after the show. So I'll let you know, Richie, what we spin. Hopefully it'll be something else good. We've had some really good movies lately. So it's been a lot of fun. We haven't had to do a real stinker in a while. What was the last one? Maybe What Dreams May Come, where we didn't really love it, overall. Luckily we've had a string of pretty good movies to talk about. So again, pending any giant deaths. I know Wings Hauser passed away. I love Vice Squad, but he's not exactly like a giant star. He was always
I don't know. Yeah. It's a guilty pleasure for you, but yeah.
No, it's not a great movie. And like Wings Hauser is like a crazy kooky character actor, and I love him, but he's not exactly like an A-lister that we need to, go out of our way to watch him. But go watch Vice Squad. He's great as Ramrod the pimp. So go watch that. He's awesome. We'll wrap it up there for now. And catch us on the Lonely Marks Wrestling podcast. I'll link it in the Movie Hero Network Facebook group, so you can find the link over to the channel there, and we'll be doing that in just a little bit, probably about 10 minutes or so. So that'll wrap it up for tonight. So we'll see you guys in 2 weeks for another episode of Wheel of Movies. So thank you, Richie, for joining me as always. I appreciate it. And I have been your host, Austin Pez Howell, and we will leave you guys with this and just say,
Well, that's great. That's just fucking great, man. Now what the fuck are we supposed to do? We're some real pretty shit now, man.
You finished?
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.